Hello, hello, kitty cats, and welcome back to another episode of Tales and Tassels, the show where you learn about the lives of burlesque and nightlife performers, their cats, their craft, and how the two worlds intertwine. I'm your host, Gemma Smith. By day, I work in animal welfare, and by night, I host the Catbaret, New York City's cat-themed cabaret. And today, I'm so excited for you to hear my conversation with Femme Appeal, a longtime presence in the New York City burlesque, nerdlesque, and variety scene. Femme has been performing, producing, and creating for over 2 decades. And this conversation really felt like sitting down with someone who has made a lot of art and has so much perspective to share. In this episode, we talk about how Femme found her way to burlesque, what's kept her here all these years, and how creating her own weekly show, Kitty Nights, became a space for experimentation, community, and giving other performers their first shot on stage. We get into producing, professionalism, creativity, and what it means to keep evolving as an artist over time. We also talk about cats, of course, and what they've meant in Femme's life, including a really touching story about her partner's cat that honestly stayed with me long after we wrapped recording. I just want to say up front how much I value Femme's openness and vulnerability in this conversation. She shares so generously, and I'm really grateful she trusted our podcast with these stories. So, if you're a performer, producer, creative, a cat lover, whether you're just starting out or you've been at this for years, we talk about taking creative risks, committing to your ideas, learning to adapt when things don't go as planned. OMG, there's a really good story she shares with me in this podcast about that, and why loving what you do and showing up professionally really matters. So settle in, enjoy the conversation, and maybe listen with a cat nearby if you can. Here's my chat with the incredible Femme Appeal. Enjoy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. This is really cool, and I can't wait to share some cat-tastic, tidbits.
I can't wait to hear it. I mean, you performed at Meowloween, and you had a cat-tastic act, and you've been performing here in New York City a really long time. So I know I'm going to hear some really good stories.
Yes.
So yeah, to get us started, you're a beloved and longstanding presence in the New York City neo-burlesque scene. You bring your love of science fiction, pop culture, and character-driven performance to the stage. So what
Yes.
first drew you to burlesque, and what's kept you here?
Wow. Okay. I know what's kept me here. And I might start with that. Actually, I will.
Yeah.
I have a very intense day job. When I got into burlesque, I had just been laid off from a corporate gig. And so I had 2 years of fun employment. I had a lovely severance package. I had a 401k that I dipped into and shouldn't have. But I was doing well. And I just feel like because I work with adults with special needs, intellectual and developmental disabilities, it's a very intense job, and I have burlesque to look forward to. It's not after a hard day's work, I need to get on stage, but I'm glad I have a creative outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And what's keeping me is I don't have anything that I love that I'm as passionate about currently other than burlesque. So I can't just leave burlesque and not have a creative outlet. Like, I've been looking at other people who are like, I'm a burlesque performer, and then I discovered baking. I'm a burlesque performer, and now I knit and crochet. I'm a burlesque performer, and I also do these. And I'm like, I'm a burlesque performer, and I'm doing it because all the other things that I loved, this is the combination of all of that. So I
Oh,
really did want to be an actress,
yeah.
legit theater, film, all of that. And I tried.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kept being told, uh, yeah, we're gonna go with someone else, or you're great, but this isn't the right part for you, or yeah, you're great. You're gonna be the sassy neighbor.
Mm.
You're gonna be the side, and they don't say it that way, but it's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the heart for rejection, so it was a hard path. And then after trying to act, I said, let me try stand-up comedy. I did
Oh.
stand-up comedy for 2 months, which meant I went to all the open mics. I
Mm-hmm.
won a few, um, and I enjoyed it. But there were times where I'm telling a joke that, went really well, but crickets. And I didn't understand, like, but if it's funny all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
no, it depends on the audience sometimes. It depends
Mm-hmm.
on what's going on in the world, or maybe delivery. So anyway, I tried stand-up comedy for 2 months. I was very funny, but it wasn't for me. But what brought me to burlesque is I kept seeing it everywhere. I'd go on vacation with my parents, and let's say we're in the Bahamas and they only had 3 channels. One of the channels played a burlesque movie, or one of the channels played the burlesque documentary. I kept seeing burlesque everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was going through a divorce, and I was living in the East Village, and I belonged to this society called the Fucking Cool Women's Society.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
we would meet monthly, like brunch it up,
Yes.
usually in someone's home, so we could, just be there for an amount of time, feel safe, feel, comfortable. But
That's
we would
cool.
do this thing, and when I was talking about, like, I don't think I want to be married anymore,
Mm-hmm.
one of the heads of the Fucking Cool Women's Society said, let's go take a fun class. Let's go do something. It was the summer, and we found in the back of the Village Voice a burlesque workshop given by Joe Weldon, and it was in a Pilates studio. So we did that, and I think I was the only person who enjoyed myself and said, I want more.
You're like, this is for me. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
And after that, I just started going to all the burlesque shows.
Nice.
Like, I lived in the East Village, so I had Starshine, I had Sweet and Nasty, I had whatever was happening at the Slipper Room, which was every night of the week usually. I went to all the little Niagara had a show. There were so many places you could go and just see a burlesque
And
show.
in
And
what time period was this? Like
oh,
2005?
I started in 2005.
Okay,
But
cool.
my very first time on stage was the Miss Galapagosanga burlesque
Oh,
competition. And that
okay.
used to take place at Galapagos Art Space in
Okay.
Williamsburg. It's no longer there. Um, and Murray Hill was the
Mm-hmm.
MC. So the
Awesome.
premise of Miss Galapagosanga was you do 2 acts, and at the end of the show, the audience decides the winner.
Okay.
I had brought 5 people, and I won September 2nd, 2005. And
Amazing.
I did 2 acts. The first act was a tribute to my namesake, Emma Peel, from the
Okay.
Avengers. And the second act was my janitor. So my janitor is my oldest act that I still do. And I love my janitor act because it's kind of ridiculous. It's a drag act, so I
Okay.
get to wear facial hair, but I'm really just being goofy on stage. But I dedicated the janitor act to my actual janitor from my high school.
Mm.
And he was a great guy. I don't remember his name, but it was so funny because he was the nicest man in the
Mm.
world. But us kids, because we were teenagers,
Yeah.
were like, wonder what he's doing in that basement. Creepy man looking at us, smiling at us. What if he mops up, and then goes in his basement and starts jerking off.
And so that was your act, like what he does when he goes?
Right. But he was the sweetest man, and he never did anything
Yes.
wrong. But
Oh.
I like to the whole story in my mind is he's in love with his mop. He's lonely. He wants a better job, but this is what he has. So he makes do, and he gets a little freaky with his mop.
Hey, he needs to do what he needs to do in his
Right.
free time to be happy. I get it. You said a lot of things that I feel like really resonate and kind of are some similarities to a lot of other performers on the show and for our listeners interested in burlesque and maybe not performing, yes, a lot of us all have day jobs.
Yeah.
You know, all different types of day jobs, corporate like you, teachers.
You know what's interesting about that? I think there was some sort of like discourse and dialogue about who's a real performer.
Mm,
And I never appreciated the fact that, like, okay, this isn't what I do to earn all of my money. This isn't how I pay my rent, but I give my all, I commit, I'm a professional, and I think I show up and do a kick-ass job. So I didn't appreciate, like,
mhm.
I'm lesser a performer because this isn't what. And here's what I say about that. There are a lot of performers who have, um, they have to earn their living
Yeah.
performing. So you might see them at a gig and then they don't stay for the curtain call because they have to make it to another gig.
Mhm.
And I respect all of that. I
Yeah.
actually knew someone who had 3 gigs in one night and, you know, made it work. But it was like, yeah, I'm here at 8 p.m., then I have a thing at 11, and then I'm doing a late night show. That's all
Mhm.
great, but that wasn't my life. And
Mhm.
I just think you do people a disservice when you discredit their art because it doesn't look the same as your art, you know?
100% agree because it's all about what you put into it, and you can take art seriously whether it's your full-time job or it's a side
Correct.
part-time job. I feel the exact same way, so that resonates, and also, I also moved to New York City to be an actor, and I didn't move here till 2012, so I didn't discover burlesque till, like,
Ah,
2018,
okay,
so I
okay.
never got to see, like, Kitty Nights or a lot of the shows that you mentioned, but I also found it more fulfilling to create my own work. That I started creating Catbaret and then discovered burlesque, and I was just more fulfilled in not needing to ask permission to perform. And yeah, I got rejected a ton, a ton, a ton. It just wasn't
Really?
for me.
Okay,
Yeah, it
okay.
wasn't for me. But that's okay. I think I'm happier now. Well, maybe
Yeah.
I would have been happy if I booked like a lot of commercials, but it's still fine.
I also feel, because I've been doing it since 2005, I see similarities in, like, I'm Gen X, and I grew up
Mhm.
before the internet and all that other
Mhm.
stuff, and what we have today is social media, and that wasn't around really when I was performing,
Mhm.
so I don't have a lot of documentation of acts that I used to do because we weren't doing that.
Yeah.
You know? And so my thing today is just because you never heard of me or saw me doesn't mean I don't exist. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
a
And it's like
100%.
there are a lot of people who are like from 2015 to now, they have this idea that and this has happened a lot. Like every generation is like, not we invented it, but we're doing something different and crazy and wild.
Mhm,
And the only thing that I appreciate is I started out and it was a DIY thing,
mhm,
right? It wasn't about rhinestones, it wasn't about how sparkly your costumes were, and you certainly didn't spend a lot on your costumes,
mhm.
right? And now it's funny because I was invited to do the Helsinki Burlesque Festival in
Ooh,
2017.
cool.
And that's when I decided Operation Upgrade.
Okay.
And what that meant is, can you make this costume for me that looks amazing on stage? Because what I currently use is great for these stages, but
Mhm.
not an international burlesque festival. So I did Operation Upgrade, and I went to Helsinki, and it was the most incredible experience ever. And I went there because I was in a show with Betty Blackheart at, I think it was Johnny Pork Pie's Dead Sexy at Times Square. And
Ah,
Betty Blackheart and I were in a show together. And we had done the show. And after the show, Betty was like, I'm going to send you an email. And I remember being like, okay, okay. And then I got an email and it was like, I want to invite you to come to, I think it was the 10th annual Helsinki Burlesque Festival. And it wasn't an explanation of, I saw you, I think you're great, blah, blah. It was just, I want to invite you. I think this would be a fantastic opportunity. And here's, and everything was paid for. And
what?
I was put up in a hotel and I made amazing money. And I was in Finland. Also, by the way, the top 10 countries
Uh-huh.
that people love and are doing well in are the Scandinavian countries.
Yes,
And you
yes.
know why? They
Well,
have everything they need. They have
yeah.
universal health care. They're safe. Their education system is fantastic. It's top notch. And another thing I heard about Finland, Finland is all about everybody gets the same education no matter what your income is. So
Oh.
if you're super wealthy or you're poor, you're getting the same quality education. If you decide you want to do something else once you graduate high school and
Mhm.
go to university or whatever, do what you want. But everything else was free and the
Mhm.
best education possible, you
Fin
know?
Yeah, Finland's been on my list to visit. It might
Oh
be on
my
my list
gosh.
to move if I have to retire
Yeah,
too. Let's dream
yeah.
retire.
They are lovely people.
Yes.
And when I arrived, I mean, Pearl Noir was there as well.
Mm.
But I looked around and I saw different people. There weren't a lot of different people, but I never felt like I was other and being looked at or stared at or anything.
Mhm.
Like it felt warm. It felt inviting. And I would go back in a heartbeat.
And what act did you perform?
I did too. There were 2 nights of the show. So I did Storm. I have a Storm
Oh,
act.
I can't
I
wait to see it.
No, it's
Oh.
retired.
Okay.
I had 2 versions of Storm. I had the black, and gold that everybody remembers where she's wearing basically, it kinda looks like fetish wear. It looks like
Okay.
S&M bondage type stuff. But anyway,
Okay.
Storm. You
Yeah,
can look it up, the black and gold.
got it.
So I did that act, and I used to love doing that act. But the one I brought to Finland was, another version of Storm where she was, I don't know what era it was, but she wore a skirt and, like, a top with the logo on it, and it was really cool and fun. And then the other act I did, was my demon act, and it's just called my demon act, and it's based off of, Legend, played by
Oh.
Tim Curry.
Ooh,
That
okay.
devil is one of the scariest ever. So all I wanted to do was find a mask that looked like that. And I found it and it was my act and I still do it. So that's what I did.
Love it. And
Yeah.
so that was 2017. Now you
Yes.
started Kitty Nights, for
In
folks that don't know.
2006.
Okay, and it was a long-running weekly burlesque show. I did some
Yes.
research, and Time Out New York said it's a show that purred along for years, and
Yes.
it spotlighted all the burlesque stars in New York. Can you break down, like, how you produced this show? How'd you start
Okay.
it? Yeah, tell us about it.
So I lived in the East Village, as I said, and Bar on aka Boa,
Yep.
the owner was a snake enthusiast and had snakes. So the logo was Boa, as in a snake,
Mhm.
but BOA also stood for Bob on Ann, and Ann was his wife. and we called it Bar on A or Boa. So that was my local watering hole. And what do I mean by that? 2 blocks away from where I lived, or a block and a half. And it was a place I could go and have like a glass of wine or whatever and hang out and not be afraid to be a woman alone in a bar.
Mhm.
And then I would go back. And I would hang out there quite often and have conversations with almost everyone. And the owner said, "Hey, kid." He had white hair, white long hair, and he was an older gentleman. But he was like, "Hey, kid, you do show, you perform, you do stuff. Can you do something here?" And I was like, "Okay." And that was our first show was July 2nd, 2006. Now,
Nice.
now here's the thing. It was a weekly show. It was every Sunday at 9 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, and we were done at 10.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. Um,
As a performer, that's nice.
but it was a free show, then a $5 show. And I always cross promoted other shows that I knew about that started later. But it was a different time because there weren't a lot of shows every single night of the week. Starshine was always on a Thursday. Sweet and Nasty was always on a Sunday, but it was at 10. So
Mm.
you could do my show and Sweet and Nasty. And there were other shows that happened during the week, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew, okay, I've been asked to put a show together. And I know some people from the classes that I took and going to other shows. And then I put out an ad on Craigslist looking for performers.
I do
And
remember Craigslist days because
uh,
I'm an elder millennial, but like I didn't move here for a while after college, but you would find auditions for things on
yes,
Craigslist. I
yes,
remember, yeah. So you
yeah.
put an ad out on Craigslist. There wasn't the Facebook group, I guess, that there is now.
No,
Yeah.
no. But anyway, I was a new performer, so I booked other new performers. And then on occasion, I would invite seasoned performers. And I would send out a lovely email. I admire you. I admire your work. I would love you to perform at Kitty Nights. And most people said yes. Now, my great story that I tell over and over is the main attraction is somebody that I can't believe in 2026 we're friends, because when I knew them, I was just a young, you know, I don't mean I was young, but I was a newer performer. And I loved everything
Oh.
that the main attraction did. So when I felt comfortable enough, I invited the main attraction to perform. And I sent an email and I detailed everything like call time is this. And I said, I can offer you $50 and a split of the door. And
Mhm.
I got an email back that said, I don't usually work for that amount of money.
Mhm.
I have a higher rate,
Mhm.
but I've heard really good things about you and your show, so I'm going to do it. And the main attraction performed, and that night she got more than her rate because we did well, and I'm a generous person, I think. And so the other thing about putting this show together, I always made sure everyone got paid,
Mhm.
even if that meant going to the ATM. And I did
Mhm.
it a lot for a while. Um, and once we switched over to $5, things got a little better. Um, and then we hit a stride because people started hearing about this new show that's primarily for new people. Because think about the other way shows happen.
Mhm.
When you're new, coming into an established show, they either want you to kitten forever or to audition.
Mhm.
How dare you?
Mm.
I have a problem with auditioning for burlesque.
Hey, kitty cats. If you love Tails and Tassels, you'll purr over our next live show. Catbaret, a cat lady purr tea, is happening Wednesday, March 5th at Caveat in New York City. It's a night of cat-themed comedy, music, and Burlesque, or as we like to call it, Purlesque, celebrating the cat lady energy in all of us. Grab your tickets and join the community at catbaretshow.com. That's catbaretshow.com. See you there. Yeah, tell me about that. I haven't, thankfully, I don't perform all the
I've
time, but I've
never
never
had
had
to
to.
do it,
Yeah.
but there were audition slots at other
Okay.
shows.
Ah.
And it was, you're new. I don't know you. I've never seen you. So
Prove yourself.
audition.
Yeah.
But when you audition, you don't get paid.
And that's a lot. You're performing a whole act, I'm guessing, with the full costume, probably makeup. It's your
Yes.
time. Different than just submitting like a video of a past performance or
Right.
something.
So I didn't believe in that. And
Yeah.
I had a kitten. The kittens came and went. Sometimes I decided they were no longer kittens and they should perform because I saw that.
Yeah.
And why like keep somebody in a job that they're aching to break out of, you know?
Mhm.
But I enjoyed, like people tell me today, and I like to be humble and go, oh, um, I've been introduced to other people as, oh, this is Femme. She gave me my first break in New York. Oh, this is Femme. She was one of the first stages I performed, and
Yeah.
that is lovely. But back then I wasn't thinking like, I'm giving you a shot, kid.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, show up and do it. And if you're great, I'll keep. And my thing is, you get into a habit of, I really like these performers. They're very, very talented, but you can't have them every single week.
Mm.
So there was, I had my stable of, I shouldn't say stable, that makes them sound like they're horses. And I was, but I
People
had
you brought
people,
back. Yeah.
yes, regular people like Gal Friday was a regular guest, Weirdy Girl, Stormy Leather, a
Mhm.
lot of cool people. And because I didn't think I was host material back then,
Oh.
and I didn't want yet another job because I did everything.
Oh, yes.
I did the sound.
Oh,
I did all of that stuff, and I'm like, I can't also host.
that's a lot.
So
Mhm.
I would invite people to host, and the only thing that I would get disappointed if it was the type of host that was like, and the next performer is. And in the back of my mind, I could have done that.
Uh-huh.
I hired you to do something different. So there were people I hired all the time, like Shelley Watson, singing.
Yes. I've seen her before she moved away. Yeah.
Yes. I loved Adam, the first real man from Coney Island, because he did
Okay.
sideshow and fun stuff. Albert Cadabra was a host all the time. Who else? Juliet Jeske when she was Princess Sunshine or Contessa Mocha. There were a lot of people I hired back. Schaefer the Dark Lord, Nelson Lugo. There were a bunch of people who regularly hosted kitty nights. And then sometimes I would bring up people who are like, try it. Just try it. If you're like, I think you're funny. I feel like it was a special time where because it was an hour show and it was only $5, I
Mhm.
didn't feel this need to curate something that was, oh my gosh, if people get upset, they're going to demand their money back.
Oh,
No, they're
yeah.
not. You know what I mean? So it was a low-key DIY, just fun hour,
And
you
it
know?
sounds like you created a real community there too. Like you said, like you were new. I feel like anyone listening and wants to produce a show, maybe they haven't yet. It's a lot of good lessons here of inviting other folks who maybe are also new, giving them a shot, creating a community, and then leading with like admiration, like a
Right.
kind email stating why you're emailing this person, like why you're reaching out to them to perform. That goes a long way.
Right.
And it
Right.
sounds like maybe there were audience members that came back each week and you had a real like
Absolutely.
community between.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that brings me to what I did
Oh,
to, because it was a weekly show, I came up with new acts.
yeah. There you
more
go.
often than not because I didn't want people to see the same act I just saw. Like, if you're gonna come every week,
Mhm.
most of the time, I had a different act, or and not all of them were good.
Yeah.
Uh, what I should say is I'm proud of the fact that I put stuff on stage just to see if it worked. And
That's
sometimes it
awesome.
didn't, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, "This is my new favorite act." So, a lot of what I drew from were, I loved Halloween, and I used to go to the parade every year, the New York
Mhm.
City Halloween parade, and for the longest time, I was Jimi Hendrix. I was Jimi Hendrix 3 or 4 years in a row, and then Jimi Hendrix became a burlesque act. And I love that act so much because it was Femmes drinking days,
Okay.
and it was back before you needed fire codes and special permissions. I had a toy guitar that I poured a shit ton of lighter fluid on, and then I lit it up and
Mm.
played that guitar, flames and all.
Damn.
It was
Wow.
unsafe,
How did
but
you
it was
Yeah.
awesome.
And the flames didn't get you? Like, I don't know a ton about fire stuff.
I mean, I was good about my setup
Okay.
of if something gets I had a wet rag ready to go, but, like, I did that on my stage and also the old Flipper Room stage, and
Wow.
nobody batted an eye, like,
I bet they
I
loved it.
right. And then I stopped doing it because fire codes
Yeah.
and I'm not trained, and everyone's like, "Yeah, you're not doing that at this show." But I loved it.
Yeah, and you having your own like, creating your own show gives you a space every week where you get
Yes.
to perform and you get to
Yes.
experiment, and that's really impressive to come up with a new act and experiment
Right.
every week. Like, I think
Right.
sometimes people work better, I know I do, with a deadline. Like, if I know I'm gonna be in a show, or I did books in burlesque and they ask you to create an act for that, and I really liked having that, like, deadline of, I have to have an act for this show, but every week
Right.
you had a
Right.
deadline. Uh,
Yeah.
and kind of merging it with cats a little bit, were there any memorable cat-themed acts or cat
You know?
performers?
Okay, so here's a funny thing. It was called Kitty Nights,
Mhm.
and I think people thought they had to bring a cat-themed act to
Okay.
Kitty Nights,
Mhm.
and they did, and a lot of people did. I was the only person who didn't have a cat-themed act,
Mhm.
and so I had to create one. Okay, so I had a theme show because I did do theme shows that were themed other than just holidays.
Mhm.
So we had a sports night, we had a movie night, we had so many different, TV shows, whatever it was. Um, I there were different themes and I'm not remembering all of them. So when I decided to do a cat themed night at Kitty Nights, I came up with Welcome to the Litter Box. And how we did this show is I said, we're gonna have a cat adoption. Sunday night, Kitty Night's Litter Box. So all the cats went on stage in their outfits, in
Mhm.
their costumes, and the audience had to go adopt a cat.
Obsessed. I work in animal welfare, so I'm obsessed with this idea.
So they would adopt a performer wearing a cat, and then I was the last one left on stage because I wasn't adopted.
On
Why?
purpose? Oh.
Because I was fucked up. I was the cat that nobody wants. I
Oh.
had a broken tail, a broken ear. I had fleas because I did all of that. Um, I was a fucked up cat. And it was
Oh.
like, I did I remember it was a very sad tale of, "Oh, poor kitty, what's wrong?" Oh, no. I had a hairball that I threw up that
Yes.
was made with, like, felt and glitter, and I would, like, do this thing where it wasn't in my mouth, it was
Okay.
in my sleeve, and then I would go, "Ooh, yeah. Ooh, ooh," And I made the noises on
Yeah.
stage loud enough so you would hear it over the music. And then all of these things happen. But the worst part is it was a fucked up cat that nobody was going to adopt. So it was going to be euthanized. And I get
Oh,
euthanized on stage.
oh
Somebody
gosh, it gets
is,
dark.
somebody holds up a giant fish.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking at the fish because I want the fish. It's a
Uh,
giant fish. I must have it. And
uh-huh.
then I get a needle in the neck.
Oh gosh, I might have cried if I saw this, but I'm sure you made it humorous as well.
So, and
Yeah.
I did it a few times, and I did it at a show called So Wrong, It's
Ooh.
Right
Oh,
at the Bowery Poetry Club. And then I also started hearing feedback of like, people really love cats, and that's a really, I, you're comedic genius. I love you. But yeah, that act. So I retired it.
and you have another cat act that you recently performed.
Yes,
It was a hit at Catbaret Meowloween. And can you tell us about that act? And also tell us about, you wear masks a lot. I feel like this
I
is a good
do.
question.
I do.
And so you have to be so aware of your physicality. And so this is this act, you're wearing a cat mask. So maybe share a bit about this act and also how you have created or are so mindful of your physicality without relying on facial expressions, which a lot of us, really do rely on that in burlesque.
So you're giving me credit for knowing about my physicality, and what it really is. I love wearing a mask because it frees up my face. I get into this thing where all I do is make faces while I'm performing.
Mm.
And sometimes it's one of those involuntary things where I I should say, like, I have Abraham Lincoln, and
Yeah.
the reason that act works is I have to be stoic. I can't really make a face because I'm being Abraham Lincoln. He wasn't known for being, Mr. Hilarious and funny and all that. So when I'm doing that act, it's me being like, "Don't make a face."
Mhm.
And wearing a mask, I'm not worried about what I look like, if somebody's looking at me back and now I'm uncomfortable. So I just enjoy wearing a mask because it's part of the what I'm giving to the audience. It's not that you've never seen a person in a mask, but I'm not taking it off. It stays on the whole time, and you have to deal with it. And then some people are like, it's so creepy because I don't know where you're looking, or was she staring at me? But the cat act that I came up with was I bought this cat mask and I still wanted to do a cat act, but let's just make it fun. And I just called him Tomcat out on the prowl. He's at a club, he's at a bar. And have you seen the commercials with the cats? I don't know if it's Meow Mix, but the cats are like people
Yes,
and
yes.
they're just hanging out. And
Uh-huh.
there's a cat that's dancing at a club.
Yeah.
I came up with that before the cat is dancing in the club, but it's like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
would you do if you were at a club and a cat came up to you just, hey? So I love doing that act. And because you had booked me for specifically Catbaret Meowloween, I
Mhm.
thought, what does everyone do with their pets during Halloween? They dress them up
Oh,
in
yes.
Halloween costumes. So I combined my Blade act with my cat act just for your show. 'Cause other
I
yeah,
should have prefaced it when I introed you, but
that's
you did tell
okay.
me you were gonna be Blade. Folks can get it. They see that
Yeah,
you have that you're like, have the sword on
yeah.
your back.
And that's the
Yeah.
only thing I didn't bring my sword because it's a real sword and it
Oh.
would have been a lot, so I didn't do
Mhm.
that. But I I just love the song Harlem Shake was one of those viral things, I guess TikTok or before TikTok, where people would just record themselves going nuts to the song.
I
And
recall,
I'm
yeah.
and I'm like, it's not a long song, but it feels like a long song because it's very repetitive. But I
Mhm.
love doing it. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun.
I love your movements. We'll be sharing some clips for our listeners to see on Instagram too.
Okay.
Uh, and kind of Okay, we talked a lot about your craft, which I love hearing. I might ask more questions in a moment, but I want to ask a little more just
Okay.
about your relationship with cats in general.
Oh,
Yeah, like have cats been part of your life? Yeah.
they have. So my my dad recently passed away, and actually the week of your show.
Oh, I'm so
So
sorry, fam.
thank you. I had a distraction. I had 3 shows that week. He died on a Sunday. I had a show, I think, Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then your show, which was Halloween proper, Friday night, I believe?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I was so grateful because I needed a distraction, and I love Halloween. And my thing is, forever and ever, amen. Am I gonna have a different relationship to Halloween?
Mm.
Sure, but I'm still gonna love it.
Mm.
But I loved being there and just when you show up for a gig, you whatever's going on with you, the minute you're on stage, it's gone,
Uh-huh.
right? And you just perform and you do your best. And I wasn't backstage boo-hooing or telling people, "My dad, blah, blah, blah." We were just all talking about each other's art and how, like, excited we were, and I love a variety show.
Mm.
That's the other thing about Kitty Nights. Toward the end run of Kitty Nights, it was more variety because I was getting bored with just burlesque, burlesque, burlesque. And not because I don't like it, but I see the value in a variety show. Like, here's a comedian, here's a storyteller, here's a sideshow person, here's a person who does magic. So all of that is super cool, but I really loved doing that show. I'd been on that stage before with other shows,
Mm.
but it was nice to spend Halloween with all the
Oh, well, it
cats.
was an absolute pleasure to have you, and I knew I
Thank
had to
you.
have you close out the show. It was our
Ooh,
finale. It was
okay.
it was fantastic.
It
Uh-huh.
it meant a lot to me that I had a place to be on Halloween, one of my favorite,
Oh.
holidays, but also, like, for a few hours, I wasn't thinking about my sadness and my grief.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I can see how when grieving distraction, it really, really helps, and was your father a cat person? Or your
Oh,
family? Or
so
growing up?
so so relationship to cats is why I brought it up. My dad's severely allergic, so I could
Okay.
never have a cat.
Mhm.
But we had cats, and we had a cat for a little while, Tinkerbell, but we couldn't keep her in the house because he was just really, really allergic. Um, and when he passed, the first thing I thought was, I can get a cat now. And then I didn't, because it didn't feel like it's not that I have to, like, honor his memory and never have a cat, but it just seemed like too soon to
Mhm,
just
mhm,
bring an animal in there because I could.
mhm.
But I grew up with cats. My first cat was Daybreak. He was a Russian blue cat,
Oh,
beautiful.
they are
Um,
beautiful.
and he got sick. He died when I was 20, and I
Oh.
was devastated. And I didn't get another cat for a while. And then at one point in the late 90s, I moved in with a roommate, and we got a cat, and it turned out to be a pregnant cat.
Oh.
And I think I was working or I was at Hunter College when it happened, but my roommate, like, called me and said, "We have cats, we have cats." And I watched everyone, and she was there to see 8 cats come out of this
Oh my god.
mama cat. And we
8?
kept, yeah,
Wow.
and we kept one of them.
Nice.
And his name became Ashtray.
Okay.
And Ashtray loved hanging out in an ashtray. He would steal her cigarette butts because she was a smoker, but
Yeah.
he also stole my jewelry. I'd be in
Oh.
my bed and I would hear pink, 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 pink on the dresser, and it was Ashtray. I never found, even when we moved, I never found rings, earrings, the things he stole.
So mischievous. And those are
Yeah.
like the things you really don't want your jewelry stolen.
But he would just put it in his mouth and run off.
I'm glad he didn't eat any
No,
of
he
them.
didn't.
Yeah.
But so there was daybreak ashtray, and then I briefly had a cat named Benatar,
Mhm.
after Pat.
Mhm.
Um, and I've just always loved cats, but my big thing is, even if I don't have a cat, I appreciate going to someone's home who does have a cat.
Ah, nice.
Um, and I also judge men by if they like cats or not. I
I
have
agree.
I have never dated a person who didn't like cats, because to me, that says something.
I feel similarly to you, but I'm curious, what do you think it says if they don't like cats?
That I don't wanna say you're not a good person, but you're not patient and
Mhm.
you're maybe rigid
Mm.
and you don't get nuances of a lot of different things.
Oh.
Because we all know a dog is loyal no matter what. And
Mhm.
cats are like, "I love you, but I don't wanna be near you right now." And
Mhm.
respect that,
Yes, cats have
you know?
boundaries. They,
They
like,
sure
show you.
do, they
Yes.
sure do.
Ugh.
Ah. But, I just think there's I've never been wrong about a man that I've dated. Like,
Mm.
if he had a cat and loved that cat, you're gonna love me and I'm gonna love you back,
Mhm.
you know?
Yes, I was married before and got divorced, so I relate when you were talking about divorce. I'm remarried, and thankfully, both my husbands did love cats, but I did date a
Okay.
guy I dated lots of guys, but I did date someone in between who didn't like cats, and it didn't work out. And you know
Right,
what? For a lot of reasons, but one of them was, "Gemma, why are you dating a guy that doesn't like cats?" He just wasn't open to them. And also, I say people that don't like cats, you just haven't met or understood. You haven't met the right cat, or you're not patient enough to understand cats.
right,
People just make
right.
assumptions, and they're all different. Cats all have different personalities, but
They sure do.
they do show you their
Yeah.
boundaries when they wanna be touched or if they don't wanna be touched or don't wanna be picked up, and you have to I respect my cat's boundaries, so I love that you brought this up. This is a really interesting point of
And I'm gonna bring up my current boyfriend of 11 years.
Ooh.
He had a cat named Crema, and I would come visit Crema, and Crema was not my cat, and she wasn't really interested in me beyond like, "Okay, you're in my house." But I think I was a little too eager, and I just wanted she was the cutest cat. Um, but I learned to not stare at her, not approach her too quickly, and I just wanted to love her, and
Yeah.
how I knew, like, she got sick and she had to be, put down, but one thing she did on her last days, she climbed up on the bed and she slept near me, and I started bawling because I knew,
Yeah.
and I love that she was saying, "Hi, and you're a good person, but I'm leaving."
Oh,
And
that's so pretty.
here's the gift she gave me. I didn't have to go pick her up, I didn't have to go chase her, she came to me, and it
Wow.
was amazing, but I knew why, you
Wow.
know?
Yeah, that's such
So,
a special moment.
Crema,
I
we
love that.
miss you.
Yeah, we're
And
thinking
and
of
I will
you.
have another cat one day, but it's not the right time.
Yeah,
But
everyone
I
knows.
love them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of friends who don't have cats for one reason or another, but they still love cats or inspired by cats or, like you said, enjoy going to a friend's house who has a
Yes.
cat.
Yeah.
For our listeners, I love to ask, can you share, a favorite product or a tip for fellow creatives or fellow cat lovers, fellow performers, whatever is something that you think you'd love to leave the audience with?
Oh, um I think the thing that when people talk about me and what I bring to the table, whenever I'm invited to speak to a new generation of burlesque performers or masterclass students like Joe's New York School of Burlesque,
Mhm.
my big thing is just be excited about what you do and commit to it. And nothing is wrong.
Mm,
Do it. If you don't like it, don't do it again, but at least try, because this is an art form made for us. And
mhm,
when I say it's made for us, no one's telling us to do any of this stuff. No one's like forcing you to do burlesque. So
mhm,
come to it with a passion and commit to it and be professional, because even though it's a performing art, it's still a business, and you're
mhm.
being hired to, yeah, perform.
Absolutely. Oh,
So
that's yeah.
I know, like, I'm entering my 21st year of burlesque, and I still have ideas that I want to put forth, and I still have things that I want to do. But I also know, because I'm not new and don't have a lot to prove, I can do it at my own pace
Mm,
and when I want. So there's a lot of, you don't have to do every show. You can do every show. If you want to, do every show. But I think, like, the more stage time you have, the more you get to know yourself as a performer,
mm,
you know? And what's cool is, the longer you do it, the more that nothing, like, throws you.
mhm,
You can show up to a venue and find out they don't have a curtain.
mhm.
And then you're like, "Oh, but my act requires the curtain to be closed." And then I peek through. Do a different act, or try your act without the curtain. Like, there are things
Mhm.
that, I remember Gal Friday had a show at Lucky Chang's, and it was called Lucky Fridays, and everything was done via CD,
Okay.
and my
Yep.
CD wouldn't work. And she said, before I performed, "I can't get your CD. I've tried everything. It won't work." So she said, "You have two choices. You can either do your act without music, or you can just sit in the audience and have a good time." I did my act without music, and the music was in my head, because know your music.
That
Know your music.
that is gold. That right there is gold. So how did it go? You just knew the music and you said, "I'm doing it." And the
And I
audience?
and I I did the act in complete silence, and when I was done, I got uh, the applause, but every single person that asked me was like, "What was the song?" And then I told them, and they were like, "Wow, that's a great song. Okay, now I can see what you were." And it was terrifying, but I did it. And I never had to do anything like that again. But what else do you do?
That is so inspiring. That's like when you have the nightmare that you're about to go on and the music doesn't work and you actually in real
Or you
life did
forget
it.
a costume or a
Yes.
prop.
Exactly. Like your whole like a
That
big
happened to me
part.
once. Yep.
Yeah. And what do you do if when you forgot a prop, just improvise around it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I left my werewolf mask at home one time, and I was doing 2 acts, and I was like, "I don't know what to do." And Jenny Saquon and I were in the same show at the Slipper Room, and she goes, "Do you have your" so my werewolf act is Little Red Riding Hood, but I changed it where I'm the wolf, the grandma, and Little Red.
Oh, obsessed.
Um Because that was an act that I tried the traditional way, wearing heels and the dress, and it just didn't seem like a good fit for me, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "How do I get rid of all of this and just be the wolf and grandma and be crazy?"
Mm.
So I had these pieces that I put on my body to show that I'm turning into a werewolf, and Jenny Sequa said, "Put them on your face, and you're a werewolf." And it did the trick for that night, but I was so I was almost like, "What do I do? I wanna go home. I'm so angry with myself."
Yeah.
but it was
Could
wonderful.
happen to anyone, and
Yes.
it's good exposure that, hey, you can handle it. It's burlesque. It's
Yes.
not life or
Yes.
death, okay? It's
Right.
yes, it feels that way if not having the music, that's so brave and bold. That's so inspiring, but, like, it's everybody's gonna be okay. You're gonna sink or swim,
Right. Yeah.
and you're gonna learn from it and grow from it, and if it didn't go well, you won't make sure to do that again, you know? So I think
Yeah.
those are really good words. Yeah.
But I love everyone has a different journey, and I love that I found burlesque and that I'm still doing it, especially since I'm a person of a certain age.
Mhm.
And I remember I wasn't a spring chicken when I started, you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yeah, I met you in
So,
Tabby Twitch's prime show for our
yes.
listeners,
Yes.
performers in their prime, and that's where we met, yeah.
Yes. And I love that show. And it's funny because when I was in my 40s, I was asked to do a show called Hot
Ooh,
Flashes.
that's
It was
fun.
called something.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no.
Oh gosh, okay.
And I wasn't there yet. I
Yeah.
didn't
Oh,
want to do a
yeah.
show where I'm in the show because I'm a certain age,
I get
not
that.
because.
Mhm.
So when Tabby Twitch asked me and invited me to Prime, I was like, yeah. And it was a lovely time and everybody was fantastic. And it's like they do all these different shows where um it's all redheads, it's all moms, it's
Yep.
all, and I love all of that.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be like everything is not for everyone, but
Mhm.
if you're invited to do a show because they think you're great, but it's also this other thing that you fit into, that's lovely, you
Yes, I
know?
would be grateful, yes.
Like I also I felt like I happened to be a Black producer, but I didn't feel like I was a Black producer.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't insist on, "Okay, well, now we're gonna do, Martin Luther King, and everybody has to be Black in the cast." That's not how I operated. I just wanted talent, I
Mhm.
wanted people to have a great time, and I also didn't appreciate when I would put forth an act, like, here's an act I had.
Mhm.
I had an act as, the construction worker from the Village People. The
Okay.
construction worker from the Village People, I think his name is David Scarhodo, and he was this lovely, beautiful man with this big mustache, but it was a white guy.
Uh-huh.
But I put on the costume,
Uh-huh.
and you could tell who I was, and people would go, "Oh, you're the Black construction worker," or you, and I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." And that's why a lot of my art, I try to I'm I'm a girl playing a boy, I'm a girl playing a man, I'm a girl playing a creature or whatever. Or, "Hey, Lando is a lady."
Uh,
I heard all these wonderful terms later, like, gender play
uh-huh.
and cross play, and I was like, "Oh, I like that." And I've
Mhm.
seen the opposite. Like, there's a performer who does Lara Croft, but it's a dude. I don't mean here, somewhere, I've seen it
Mhm.
on but anyway, I don't like when people put limitations on you or try to label you
That makes total
because
sense.
yeah,
Because burlesque can be so different to the individual and what we each
right.
bring to it and what our interests are or what your interests are. And like you said earlier in our chat, that you found burlesque was a way that you could bring together the things that you loved.
Yes, yes.
And so there's no limitation there. I feel like
But
Mhm, go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
But my favorite and proudest moment,
Yeah.
there was an older gentleman in the audience at Bar and A on a Sunday night at Kitty Nights, and I did my zombie act.
Mhm.
And my zombie act has, like, morphed into other stuff, like, I've changed the song a few times. That's how you keep an act fresh. Sometimes you change the music or
Oh.
the choreography. If it's great the way it is, leave it alone, but I've done that quite a bit. I got off stage after doing my zombie act, And this gentleman was like, "Can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You really know your zombies." And I went, "What?" He goes, "Those are authentic zombie moves." And I was like, "Thank
You felt so seen.
because I believe in the slow crawling zombie from Night
Uh-huh.
of the Living Dead. I
Okay.
love all the other zombies,
Yeah, there's
but
running
that
zombies, there's slow
yes,
zombies. I know a little
yes.
zombie stuff. Yeah.
But it was like I was so proud. I was like, "Oh my God, thank you.
You felt
Thank you."
seen. You
Yep.
what you were depicting, he picked up on and he knew exactly.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
validating too, when you know your
Yeah.
audience member really gets it.
And I think producing my own show, it gave me the freedom to not care as much what
Mm,
I did there, but I definitely had a different, more professional attitude at other people's shows. Like,
mhm.
I'm being crazy here, but don't worry, I'm not going to do that to your show. Like, whatever you need me to do, and yeah,
Yeah, that goes in hand, like being
right,
professional, showing up,
right.
that's part of the job too. I feel like I could chat with you all. We could maybe come
I
back for
know.
a part 2 in the future, but tell me before we leave, let me know, is there, or our listeners know, is there anything coming up next that you're excited about? You mentioned just entering your 21st year. Is there anything you want us to stay tuned, follow you on Instagram?
Follow me on Instagram. I was looking forward to this. This is my first burlesque adjacent kind of gig. I'm not performing, but I'm getting to talk. And then February 6th or 7th, I'm doing Neil deGrasse Tyson at Johnny Caligula's birthday walk with me show. So it's a Twin Peaks themed show, and Neil deGrasse Tyson has nothing to do with
Yeah.
Twin
Yeah.
Peaks, but I was invited, and we will make it work.
It sounds fantastic. I think this episode will air right around the time of that show, so I'll be plugging it.
Oh,
So hopefully our
yay.
listeners will come out, and thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge and really, really good advice or inspiration for fellow artists. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Gemma.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Tales and Tassels. So if you have any questions, comments, or just want to say meow, feel free to send us an email at talesandtasselspod@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Also, join our community on Instagram at Tales and Tassels Pod for more updates and behind-the-scenes fun. See you next time, kitty cats.